New schools to order, meeting to order.
I don't want to
Pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trevor, could you do roll call, please?
Christina Husherman, Kurt Flick here. I'm here. David Kaufman.
Here.
Don Lehman.
Here.
John Payne.
Here.
Brian Topping.
Here.
Jessica McFarland.
Here.
Gretchen Thomas.
Here.
And Scott Croner.
Here.
Next item, school special board recognition. Seeing none, hearing none. Move on to recognition of visitors and public input. I believe everybody signed in. If not, we will move on to amendments to the agenda. It should be on the back of our agenda that you're over with.
I make a motion to approve the amendments agenda.
Second.
Motion from Trevor, second from John. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify by saying the same. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, consent items consisting of regular board minutes, claims, personnel items, professional leave requests, grants, and donations. And the consent item, will be just approved with additions.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as listed.
Second. Motion from John, second from Brian. Any questions or discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 6-0. Moving on to action items. First item is consider approval of the Northwood High School Student Athlete Handbook.
Board back, you have a copy of the updated student athlete handbook. There were 2 minor tweaks that were made. Appreciate AJ being here tonight and his work. I know we met with John and with Kurt to kind of go over a few of those items. The only 2 tweaks from the previous board meeting were some language on facility usage and language on the APC coursework. So that was reflected in your board packet. So we recommend approval as presented.
Make a motion to approve the Northwood High School Student Athlete Handbook.
I'll second.
A motion from Trevor, a second from David. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 6-0. Next item, consider approval of the textbook adoption for reading K-5, ELA 6-8, and Northwood Middle School and Northwood High School Music.
These are the 4 different areas that we brought to you last time and had discussion around, the reading adoption for elementary and middle school, and then the music adoption for band for the middle school and the high school. So, more than happy to answer any other questions, but we're asking for approval for all 4 curriculum.
Make a motion to approve the textbook adoption for reading, ELA, and for middle school and high school music.
Second.
Have a motion from John, a second from Trevor. Any questions or discussion on that?
Where do we put in that wording? We were gonna carve out those areas that we talked about last meeting.
Say that again?
We had talked about last meeting, there was a couple of chapters that we were gonna carve out of that.
I don't think we were gonna carve them out. I think we were just gonna let Gretchen do with the instructional coaches and let them know how it should be approached in teaching those subjects. I don't think we were
I
gonna
didn't
carve
get
it
that
out.
memo from this. I thought we were gonna talk about having that section.
I guess the understanding I thought was that if a teacher, they would come to you if they wanted to teach it differently or just drop it completely, they would come to you and do an appropriate way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we also just talked that at our board retreat, that we get together with administrators, that we would just discuss, again, communicating with the administrators on those couple of topics, how coaches always do, and how anything like this comes up with building administrators, that we would just talk about how to handle those portions of the adoptions in ways that just uphold our community standards, and in the instance of somebody not being comfortable teaching something, their personal values, things like that, that we would make sure that we talk about that with the administrators. Kind of, which already happens in the course of that, but just so that the board felt better about, you know, if there's clear communication on this, they know exactly what we talked about in the textbook adoption when we went through this, that we would cover that at the board retreat with them.
That's my understanding, there wasn't like full chapters that are like dedicated to any specific subjects or a question.
No, I mean, the one in question was the last chapter in, I believe, 3rd grade, of the language arts that I read through. But again, when you look at the chapter test, it's not material that's on the chapter test. So one, we're not cutting out something that the kids are tested on. 2, the title of the chapter is a little misleading, because the title of the chapter leads you to believe that the whole chapter is about that, when it's really not. If you read through it, you can see it's more of a history type of thing, and then that's one portion of it, along with other theories and ideas that are presented in that chapter. So I just think, again, discussing with administrators, with coaches, they'll be able to have those talks with teachers when they encounter those types of things. And yeah, I know I said this last time, that's really, it seems new this time because it was brought to the attention of the board and singled out, but in the wide variety of materials that kids are encountering throughout the course of a year in any grade level, I don't care what it is, there's always something that's gonna come up that you have to work through those things with teachers, with parents, with certain students, and I believe that our administrators do a great job and our teachers do a really good job. There were things that teachers provided alternate assignments on all the time to accommodate students and needs what they needed. So I think it'll be handled like that.
I agree. When we looked at that particular chapter, it didn't have that much of an impact that if someone didn't teach that chapter, it wouldn't affect their test or anything like that.
It wasn't a question on it, I don't think.
Right. And it, like John said, the title mentioned one thing, but it was actually about 4 different theories that were mentioned, referred to them as theories. Actually mentioned more about the Hubble telescope than any of the theories, really.
I don't know, I was in school, we never got to the last chapters. I don't remember ever getting to the last chapter of any book.
And, you know, I think I already know the answer to this, but if a parent came and said, well, we don't teach theories in our home, you know, we believe in this one thing.
Yep.
And we could say, okay, well, we'll assign something different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like John said, we actually do that quite often in different areas, whether it be different social studies, science, reading. Reading just tends to be one that comes up more often.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Next item, consider the approval of the Wa-Nee Walking Challenge.
Yeah, we would like to offer the walking challenge again this year. The same step goal would be 500,000 steps between June 1st and September 6th. This year, the theme will be Gridiron Go, which visits several college football stadiums across the Midwest. Participants who reach the goal of 500,000 steps in the time frame will receive a $50 reduction in their insurance deduction on payroll.
Make a motion to approve the Wa-Nee Walking Challenge.
Second.
A motion from John, a second from Don. Any questions or discussion? 6-0. Next item, consider approval of the out-of-state and/or overnight travel request for Northwood High School academic state competition, Northwood High School FFA to Joliet livestock judging.
And we recommend approval as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve the out-of-state overnight travel request as presented.
Second.
A motion from David, second from Brian. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, those opposed, same sign. That motion carries 6-0. Next, discussion and information. First one, we have Bank of Indianapolis investment review.
You have Darren from Bank of Indianapolis here tonight.
Good evening, I'm Darren Nice from the National Bank of Indianapolis. Thank you for having me. So I'm the portfolio manager for the Wa-Nee Community School Corporation's 457 plan. As a reminder, this is my first time that I have been here to present in front of you all, just as a review. This plan was began in 2002, I believe, as a way to coordinate with the state in terms of unfunded liabilities, in terms of being able to enhance the retirement of existing employees back in the day. I am not an expert in the plan. I have colleagues that do that. My job is on the investment side. One of the bits of information that I will communicate with you today is the long-time liaison that you've had, and that Jessica's worked with a long time, was Carissa Ambrose. She has left her position as our retirement service coordinator at the bank, so she will no longer be your person to coordinate with. So currently, that person will be Summer Jones. But if there's ever a situation, and we are in the process of replacing Carissa, so that it may not end up being Summer long term, but she's if her current needs, she'll be your go-to person in that fund. If you have bigger concerns, the head of our wealth management division is Dave Franklin. You can certainly address any of those. Anyway, thank you for being here. We'll hit a few things just on your plan, and feel free to ask any questions. I don't take too much of your time. The first half of the packet, which you all have electronic versions of, and everybody needs a paper version, I've got some. But the idea is just kind of an economic review, and I won't spend a lot of time there other than just to say, there's obviously interesting things going on. We've had a really good run in investment markets in the past couple of years. A lot more yellow flags this year, concerns about where we are with, of course, geopolitical conflicts around the world, what that might mean for inflation, interest rates, stock markets, bond markets, all those different types of things. But overall, the underlying fundamentals still remain pretty strong. I won't spend a lot of time there, but if you want any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them, but I know you get a lot of things to do. If you could skip to page 13, that will be. So in this packet is the investment policy statement for this particular plan. So this is kind of my guiding document that says how do we need to invest the funds that are in this particular account. This document was created when the National Bank of Indianapolis became involved. I believe this is in 2006. If you have any interest in refreshing it, it probably ought to be looked at if you want to form a subcommittee, or if there are people in this group that specifically want to look at it, or maybe if we decide that it's worth it for, you want to hear from me again in a year, I can bring some suggested changes, whatever you prefer in this process. It's not bad, but it's 20 years old, and so there are some things that probably should be refreshed in there. But that's just kind of the general document. But this will, as you just kind of scroll through, it just generally says in this particular account, it should have within this range of equities, within this range of fixed income investments. And these are the types of things that are allowed within our particular plan. So that's kind of my guidelines that I need to stay within. And then again, it reiterates that we indeed are acting as a fiduciary. We need to act in your best interest, or the best interest of this particular plan as we go through. So that's what that document says, and once again, I'll be glad to give any guidance on there if you choose. If you scroll ahead a couple pages to the beginning of the actual account right here. So this is what the account currently looks like. So currently, you're right around 1.3 million in this account. As per the investment policy statement, it fits these particular parameters in terms of how much in each of these different categories. So its design, its target is right about 60% to be in equities, with the remaining parts in fixed income and cash. And so it sits in those boundaries, and it can fluctuate from time to time, but I'll continue to make sure that this is kind of where we want to live within certain parameters. You can kind of see some guidance down here. We get into some more performance numbers a little bit. If you go to the next page, this one might be the most important in the packet, just to kind of show where you are, where you've been. Right, so this is a time series from when this account started, back, as I said, in 05 or 06, when National Bank of Indianapolis became involved. And this light blue line only moves if there's a deposit or a withdrawal in the account. And so we'll go up if there's a deposit, we'll go down with the withdrawal. So as retirees receive benefits, that number is going to go down. As happened back in 22, there was a deposit made to kind of bring back up to a certain funding level, and you see it. Whereas this blue, darker blue in the background, that's based on market performance and fluctuation over periods of time. So here's the thing that to say, okay, so what are we looking at here? So when we look over here at the totals, this particular column, you can kind of see that this blue line is even below zero. So that's telling us that over the past 20 some odd years, you've taken out more than you put in. And on top of that, you still have a balance of 1.3. So your investments have earned you a couple $1 million over that period of time. And then, so this is something we would always expect to see that gap continuing, is what we hope for, right? That the investments continue to produce, as well as, even though we know that it's going to be a continually drawing asset as we go down. So that's just kind of the general picture to kind of say, okay, was it worthwhile? Did it add value to our overall program by doing this? And I think that's a success. And you can kind of see where that was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And then the next page talks a little bit more in some detail. Return numbers, if you care. I've been involved with this account when I joined the bank in 22. And so we have, the past couple of months have not been particularly great, as we mentioned, but we've had, that's on the heels of a couple of years that were really, really good. So your performance in this account, double digits for the past 3 years, we're at 11%. Again, we are required to sit in these guys, to sit within the channels, right? If we, and maybe some of you have this in your own personal investment accounts, if you were 100% in the market, you would have gotten these kind of returns. If you were much more conservative and were 100% bonds, you would have been these kind of returns. We are designed to be right in the middle and will always be there, basically according to your mandate. Our investment philosophy so Diamond Capital is a name, you might see that as the investment division of National Bank of Indianapolis. It's one and the same, just for branding, because we live in a regulated industry. Right? So our philosophy is always be, let's try to get as much return we can with taking out as little risk as possible. And I'm going to hit one of those highlights here before I take too much of your time. Go ahead, one more page. So now this is a little geeky. Any math people? I don't know if we have. I was a math teacher for 11 years, by the way, so I appreciate your educational bents, for all of you. What I forgot. So when I was a teacher, every time I started a class, I always try to start every class with a little bit of humor. So I was meant to tell you a joke here when I got up here. You're so efficient going through there, I'll take the time. Okay, so my wife and I just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary just a couple weeks ago. And those of you who've been married a long time, you understand there's a lot of give and take, and there's some things where you let it go, and sometimes you don't, right? Well, this past year, something happened, and when my wife told me that you need to stop acting like a flamingo, well, I had to put my foot down. Sorry. Anyway, I meant to start with that. Okay, moving on. Now some geeky stuff. So, all right. This is just kind of a general chart of risk-reward parameters, right? In terms of where we are in the account. This is the 457 plan. Is this guy right here? This metric is going to say how much risk are we taking on. If we are in this 100% in the stock market, this is how much risk we're taking on, about 15% in the standard deviation of it. Obviously, this then is a correlated return. So obviously, the thought is the more risk you take, the better your returns will be. Not always the case, but there is a general correlation there. So this is 100% equities, 100% in the market. This is all in bonds. Not much return, not much risk. This is you. What this is a standard 60-40 portfolio. So we may have fallen a little bit short in terms of the average 60-40 portfolio, in terms of how much return it got. It's pretty close over the past 3 years, but our risk levels are way lower, right? So we're trying to take on less risk, and we're trying to make sure the worst case doesn't happen. This thing is that it blows up, right? We don't want to lose money. So we take on less risk along the way. We're willing to sacrifice a couple of percentage points of return along the way. So it just, and if you care, or ask your financial guy about some of these numbers about, Sharpe ratios are good. It's basically how much return you're getting for each unit of risk that you take on. So the higher is better. So even though the actual return may be a little lower than a normal 60-40 portfolio, the return per unit of risk is higher. So that's what we're looking for. So anyway, if you care about those nuances, they're there. All right, a couple other things then is for you. You'll see a diversified portfolio of mutual funds. We have some domestic, some international, some large, some small. We try to diversify as much risk as we possibly can in that process. In our bond world, same thing. We have some super conservative with some treasuries. We have a little bit more income earning type things, some short and some long. We try to mix all of those things up to try to generate, again, the most return for the unit of risk that we can take on. And then the next page is just additional holdings here. These are some of our bond holdings. I'll be glad to talk to each one of those, but I don't want to put anybody to sleep here in my few minutes. The next page, then this outer ring is the same pie chart that I showed you at the very beginning. This is your 60% equities. So in this 60% equities, you have a bunch of different layers of diversification inside there. So it's some large, some small, some different types of things there. So let's try to show you the value or the way we're trying to spread out your risk as much as we can in that process. And then the packet just closes with every month one of our portfolio managers writes so it's the next page, the market commentary. If you ever personally want to be on the email list, they're glad to add you to it. We're just going to put it out. It's a 2-page situation. Here are a couple things that we're watching, some things that we're looking at in the markets. All right, I kind of ran through that at 100 miles an hour, but any questions or thoughts on where you want to go with any of that? Okay.
So you said we should update a little bit?
That's what I think. I think it's prudent, right? Again, and you may not want to need to make any changes. It's fun. But there probably are a few tweaks that could be made. So if I'm in your shoes, I would consider one of two paths. One, assign a couple of you to say, hey, let's read over this investment policy statement to make sure it still says what we want it to do. And say, hey, this is good, this is not. Or say, Darren, next time you come, please come with some suggestions and we'll talk about some changes, or email some suggestions, and then next time you're here, we'll vote on whatever you want to do. It's not urgent, but it's recommended for best practice. And then going forward, it's probably good to look at every 5 years. We probably shouldn't wait 20 for it to be looked at. Just by good stewardship. Thank you for letting me come and for letting me tell my dad jokes.
Thank you. Next item, Northwood High School Athletic Department update. Started with a joke.
I think Mother Nature's making the joke of me today. I think last year I had a presentation ready, and then I was told I only got 5 minutes, so I'll try to be as quick and efficient as possible. So I basically just have like a handout of current updates. This is very similar format to with the work that we do with our admin team every Tuesday, which is an absolute blessing to get together with Gretchen, Jessica, Dr. Croner, Weston, Jen Wise, our school treasurer, to kind of go through athletic financials and then any other need to knows and updates that we experience on a weekly basis. So kind of take you through a year in review from last April to today. Athletic financials to start off with, we are at positive $5,000 as of April 1st. Being a numbers guy back there, they probably think that's not very good. But in 2024, April 1st, we were negative $200,000. And then last year, At this time, we reported that we were negative 132,000. So we have done a great job as a department, program-wide, all the teams and everything making sacrifices to do what's right by our department, make sure that we're good stewards of our money. So things are definitely looking up with program fundraising, all the fundraising that they do in-house. We are at $117,000 positive in our athletic account, which is obviously really good. Total revenue generation to date, we're just over 260,000. Last April, we reported our revenue at 225. Expenses to date, plus the anticipated, this includes anticipated spring officials and event workers that we account for the rest of the spring. Does not account for any state final expenditures, remaining custodial, lifeguard, or professional development opportunities that our coaches are going to continue to do through the spring. But we anticipate close to 160,000 in expenses when we close out in June. So obviously financially we are in a much better place than where we were 2 years ago, and we're continuing to trend that way. One of the biggest things, again, thanks to Jessica and Dr. Croner for allowing us to be able to do it, and really the board as well, is through the facility rental of Field of Dreams. It's been basically going on summer 2 of rinse and repeat of booking 5 weekends out there, Friday through Sunday, and collecting the down payments. And we work with only 2 organizations. They do a phenomenal job of caring for our facilities, and we're able to do that so we can take care of our programs. So that's been a blessing. Participation numbers this last year, we've had 412 student athletes. 49% of them are multi-sport athletes. When you break it down between male and female student athletes, 225 are male participants. Females are at 187. That gap, close to 9%, is much higher than what I would like to see. Much rather see it somewhere between 3% as far as the difference. 5, I think, is about as most as you want to be. We want to be conscious of like Title IX and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're promoting our girl teams and programs and opportunities available to them. And we're continuing to do that. Multi-sport athletes are also broken down there as far as 3 sport athletes, 2 sport athletes, and 1 sport athletes for each of those genders as well. Athletic transfers, which was a big topic. June 1st last year, they actually rolled out the new transfer rule, opened up a transfer portal for basically freshmen through juniors for one-time free transfer, no questions asked. The impact of that, you can kind of see the numbers there. 13 completed incoming transfer processing, meaning that they fully completed all 4 steps that the IHSA requires us to do for them to gain eligibility. 11 are still in processing. Guidance department, Lisa Craven, have been incredible with allowing me to be able to see any of the high school kids coming in early, so then I can start their step 1 process to get them eligible, so we're never surprised when they show up to a limited contact practice, an open gym, or a first day of practice. So we're able to get the ball rolling to get them in there. So 11 of them have started the process, but haven't completed it and chosen not to participate in athletics. 10 outgoing transfers. 2 of the outgoing are kids that actually transferred in and then left. That's also part of the new IHSA rules. So you can go and try out, enroll at a school, and then leave if it doesn't work out and get full eligibility at your previous school. So that's something I anticipate seeing a little bit, even with the kids that may leave us, that they hopefully have the ability to return. And we have 3 foreign exchange students that are participating in athletics this year. Athletic achievements, there are a ton. I won't go through them all, but obviously there's some big ones to highlight. When you look at NLC, when you look at our school, second small school in the NLC, winning NLC championship boys basketball, which I don't even believe is listed there, but that is one to add to the list. State qualifiers, we've had 5 state participants in individual sports, and we came out with another state champion, Naima Ghaffar, winning girls wrestling again this year. And then we have several other all-stars for their sports. Emily Ullman, girls volleyball, Austin King in football, and Naima Ghaffar in girls wrestling were recognized as state all-stars, which is phenomenal. And then so far we have 11 college student athlete signings. I anticipate more as we get closer to the end of the spring. And once again, we'll do in May a next level Panther signing day. We'll bring them all back and recognize them again. Student athlete discipline, we've only had 4 athletic code violations this year. There's a lot of minor things that occur during the school day. Most of the time, those are handled within the programs themselves, but the ones that I've had to address, we've only seen 4, which is, again, pretty incredible. Our kids do great, the right things at the right time all the time, as much as the time as possible, I guess. 2 completed the alternative punitive opportunity that you guys approved a couple years ago. Again, great organization to work with in getting those kids back on the right track. And then we've only experienced 8 academic ineligibilities through the course of our year, which is pretty incredible. And some of them are repeat offenders, but our coaches do a great job of working with them to get them fully eligible for the next trimester. Sportsmanship points. The IHSA looks at that and evaluates the school based on sportsmanship. There's ways that you can earn points. There's documentation you can submit for community service hours, having a student athlete leadership team, which Kyle Dykstra, my assistant AD, he does every other Wednesday and does a great job with that. And then exemplary reports that are filed by officials or other coaches or other administrators of schools can file behavior reports. When we're doing something right, they send it to the IHSA and we get points, we get credit back. You're only allowed 5 of those now. So you can get as many, but you only get 5 points back. But ejections and all that stuff, you get docked 5 or 10, so hard to make up. So we've had 9 unsportsmanlike reports. That can be anything from a technical foul, yellow card, red card, personal foul, like in football if you're over celebrating, all that stuff. So those things get filed, and I have to report back to IHSA on what we did to remedy it. So those things come, but we are at 110 points, which is excellent. That's kind of our goal every single year, and we'll hopefully have some more points to add to it once we finalize our end of the year stuff with the IHSA. Last items here are kind of like our department action items and task assignments that we've looked at going into this year and then continuing to evaluate. Obviously our financials is always continuing to look at that, and there's a lot of things with our financials that we're looking towards. Developing a plan or proposal for program expenses, opening up more than just the need to play the sport outside of event workers, officials, uniform, or well, not having been uniforms, but we're bringing that back again next year. Those items are important, so we're looking at those. Wa-Nee Way assignment that you guys gave us at last year's retreat. Excited to present that to you guys at this next round. And then preparing the Northwood Department Handbook. Thanks again for approving the Student Athlete Handbook today. Love the conversation and feedback we got when we were looking at that. Just took a course down at the IHSA or the IIAAA conference a couple weeks ago. And I sat in the legal course, which was 4 hours long. You sat there and we went through 25 Supreme Court cases on what are the good things and bad things to have in your student handbooks. And so there's some things that even after I submit it to you, I'm like, well, next year we need to make sure we have this in here. And so one of the ideas that came up through that work was a department handbook. So we're creating a committee of coaches, assistant, volunteer, head coaches, to look at creating a department handbook and all the need to knows that just comes with it. You know, when you first walk in, you're drinking from a fire hose already. So what's something tangible that you can have if you have questions on that you can look through and have all our systems and processes and expectations in there. Big news too, we're transitioning away from Ballfrog, the athletic app. That cost us $3,500 a year to have the app and the website. We're transitioning to EventLink. EventLink, we pay $300 a year. That does all our contracts, officials, assignings, game scheduling, everything already. For $1,000, we get a website with it. So it makes a ton of sense. A lot of schools have jumped on board with EventLink website. We committed to that in December and we've already started to build out the website. Once the Ballfrog contract's up, the domain will just transfer over. So northwoodathletics.com, which we own, will remain the same. The app will just go away though at that point. But it'll bring a lot of other opportunities for us to streamline communications, make us way more efficient and everything else that we do in our department. So it'll be a good transition. Some other ones, exploring initiative to update program banners and record boards, and exploring Northwood Athletics Hall of Fame initiative, which I talked to Dr. Kroner about. We don't do a great job of celebrating our individual accomplishments and athletes We have obviously like our team state champions, but there's nowhere that really shows off our individual state champions that we have, and we have 6. We even have a male gymnast who was a state champion. So it's like, you know, where are those individuals at? I firmly believe that displaying those somewhere publicly when people walk in, our student athletes are around it, it shows what our standard is as far as our school, the success and the history of it, and what it takes to get there. So creating something there, I feel is very, very important and kind of our next step as a school. So I'm excited to start that initiative here in the next year. And then you can see some of the tasks and different things that we have done this year, which everything that I'm trying to do is try to bring as much transparency to our department as possible. Through the annual report that we did last year that we released in July, we'll do that again when we close our books at the end of June. We'll have an annual report highlighting everything for the past year. We send out, this year, the end of season report cards, started doing that. So we did one in the fall, did one in winter, we'll do another one in the spring. And yeah, so a lot to celebrate, a lot of tasks ahead, but appreciate your guys' time and your guys' support for our coaches and athletes. Any questions or anything like that?
So you say with your financials, 5,000 is what we have in our athletic fund, or is the 117?
So like what I look at and see the 5,000 because I don't dictate what teams necessarily can spend out of their program fundraising. So I look at it that the 5,000 is what I'm responsible for, if that makes sense. When the state, when they were to come in and they audit our books, they're gonna look at everything and they're gonna see, oh, you guys are positive and doing really well. So, but what I'm responsible for is everything that goes under general athletics. Our programs have 2 accounts that are earmarked to them, basically. There's an expense one, and then their fundraising. We earmark a lot in their expenses, and it's always going to be a negative balance in there through the course of their year, but it helps us track program spending. But fundraising, the athletic department does not touch. That is what comes in, gets approved by you guys for them to use through fundraising efforts and donations, and they're pretty much free to spend what they want. We just say, if anyone asks questions, make sure you're able to defend what you're deciding to use the money for. So
uniforms and things like that are still through their fundraising?
if they choose, right now, if they choose to, and that's kind of what they've been operating here the last 2 or 3 years, but going into next year, we're actually going to start working with the teams in the fall that are up for rotation. They're going to be able to start that process to order them now this spring. We already worked out a deal with BSN, our vendor, that they won't bill us until July 1, so it goes over into next year's books. But the fall teams that are up for rotation, we're bringing the rotation back. We've set it up so there's a quad A and a quad B, and those groupings basically will alternate years on when they can rotate. And obviously we're looking at, because several programs did a great job of being self-sufficient in some of their uniforms in the last couple of years, so obviously it'll be still based on need. So we're responsible with the money we have and mindful of the people that did donate money, that we're not just pushing those uniforms aside to get brand new too early. So yeah, we're bringing back uniform rotations going into next year, which is great.
I want to say thank you so much for that's a big turnaround in the last couple of years to see that number be black and not red. You made a lot of ground, and so I really appreciate that. I guess my only question, I know you said the baseball field has offered some opportunities. Do you think there's further opportunities for that? And then also, the soccer field probably gets rented, but I believe the revenues, that's to the city, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Yep. There's always opportunities to generate revenue. I mean, we're limited to concessions, to merchandise sales, and ticket revenue, right? So that's pretty much our things that brings in the most revenue. The facility rental for the Field of Dreams has been the biggest one. Bringing in close to $90,000 a year. One of the biggest jumps for this year was because the rentals that took place in July that accounted for this year's books, which is about, I believe, $36,000 that's sitting there now. And the next couple of weeks, we'll start getting the down payments here for the summer rentals for this year. So we'll start to see that increase, but things with like merchandise, Richmond feeds it, they come to our football games, they took over like our captain's closet. What we were finding was the trends of us buying our own merchandise, getting it printed, doing all those things. The overhead, we weren't making really any money off that. So we get a percentage back from Richmond's for their service to take time to do that, which is great. So that's kind of the angle that we've done with a lot of our initiatives where we've outsourced a lot of that work. Corporate sponsorships has been one. Ron Bedward already does a lot with his, Michiana promotions. And I asked him at the beginning of the fall if he would mind, he's already contacting these businesses. What if you took our corporate sponsorship to them already? Because it's hard for me to make cold calls or go door to door, in my everyday job. So he was willing to do that. So he's doing that for, a percentage. And I think we've almost doubled. Definitely doubled what we got in last year in corporate sponsorship because he's able to do that for us. And that's even with his percentage. So he's been a huge help this year. So. And I can always provide much more breakdown of everything that we do financially because I have my own spreadsheet and everything else I look at. So if you guys are ever interested, don't hesitate to ask.
Great.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, textbook adoption, personal finance question.
We have one more textbook adoption to talk about. So we have a new course at the high school, personal finance, that will be offered next year. And so, we have a online curriculum, through this Intuit, and they have a free curriculum that we will be able to use. That curriculum has everything that we need to meet all the state standards for the course, and so the committee took a look at it, and you can see there all the topics that it covered within that course. The committee looked at it and feels confident that that is gonna be a great program to meet the needs for that course. So we're really excited to begin getting to work on it, and I think it's gonna be great for our students to be able to have this knowledge when they leave high school. We'll be bringing it back in a couple of weeks at the next board meeting to ask for approval, but wanted to bring it to you guys today and see if there were any questions that you might have.
How long has it been since we had personal finance, high school?
I don't know that we've ever
Used to.
Kennedy teach
before.
that? Was that?
I know my kids took it. I think every kid
Yeah.
should take
Bruce
it.
Kennedy, did he teach that?
He's more
I
busy.
think
Freshman?
he did.
It's business.
I thought we were
JJ and Ari's
Yeah.
class maybe had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
Glad to see that.
It's a new state requirement, so all kids will have it now, which is,
It is for everyone, right?
yeah.
One good thing is that,
And that is all we have this evening.
there being no further business coming to touch the board, a motion to adjourn is in order. Motion by Janice, second by Trevor. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.